Yes. Senator Carl Krueger, according to the criminal complaint that's filed by the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, Carl Krueger took more than, or at least $1 million in bribes. He has contributed to the Senate Democratic Campaign Committee at least $450,000. We are calling for those funds to be returned and handled in a way that they do not pollute our political process. This is dirty money, and it should not pollute our political process. In addition, the Carl Krueger's, from his campaign funds, he distributed funds to more than one-half his fellow Democratic senators, and we're asking for them to also return those funds, or at least handle them in a way that they will not pollute our political process with this dirty money.
Some of them have already said they would give their money over to charitable organizations. Is that fine?
We know that they did that, and we compliment them for doing that, and we would urge the others to do the same.
Mr. Chairman, I got to bring up, I don't remember a similar comment when Senator Bruno was convicted.
That was under a statute that has been declared unconstitutional. I don't know where that is. I don't know the details of that case.
But at the time, it was still constitutional, and there was no statement from the Republicans on that.
Yeah, I don't know the details and funds were involved, but here we're calling for those funds to be returned for the Democratic Campaign Committee and handled in a way that will not pollute our political process.
What about what we're hearing today that the crime problem, and it's being described as a crime problem, is out of control in the legislature? We've seen. We're trying to count up. We can't even remember how many people have been indicted or convicted in the last few years.
If you listen to the presentation made by the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District, he said this is an ongoing process. This started with Brian McLaughlin and went on to Anthony Seminario. It's now going on to Senator Carl Krueger, who is the Finance Committee chair, and this process is one that I think is going to keep going. You take a look at it's on the front page of the press about the misuse of charities by Democratic senators and assemblymen. At some time, I would think the Attorney General's Charity Bureau would be interested in those things. I'm quite surprised, in fact, that former Democratic Attorney Generals have not been have their Charities Bureau more interested in that misuse of funds by those nonprofits that are controlled by Democratic senators and assemblymen.
So are you calling this a Democratic problem and not a Republican problem?
This is definitely a Democratic problem, and it started with Brian McLaughlin, who was also head of the Labor Council in New York City.
Well, what about Vinnie Leibel? He's a Republican. He was just indicted a few months
yes,
ago.
no, he was indicted for taking bribes, and he's going to go away for some time, and that's the way it should be.
But he was a Republican. This would seem to be that it's not just a Democratic problem.
It seems like it is mostly a Democratic problem, but I agree with you about Senator Leibel.
What about Governor Cuomo today saying that this is why the ethics bill needs to be passed, and he's going to appoint a Moreland Act commission by the end of the session if they do not act? Do you support that?
There are now three-way discussions going on. The Assembly and the Senate and the governor. They're talking about the ethics bill. You know, Senator Brandeis said sunlight's the best disinfectant. We need more sunlight in what's going on in our legislative process, and I think that we're going to get an ethics bill that does put more sunlight on the ethics process when these three-way discussions are over.
Ed, what about the fact that the FBI has been, basically they've been kind of trolling along watching this since about 2005, 2006. It's not something that just happened yesterday.
It's an ongoing process, and if you read the criminal complaint, 52 pages, a lot of work has been going on in this by the FBI. You have to turn witnesses and then get them wired up and going. I served in the Southern District very briefly, and I watched how this is done, and it is a very meticulous process. The Southern District, when they do something, it is serious. And here they are acting. I'm sure we'll see more complaints coming down in the future.
But they're talking about shell corporations. They're talking about lobbyists who are involved. There's like 9 people.
All that is laid out in that 52-page complaint. I recommend that you read it. It is quite shocking.
On a different topic, if I could ask, are you going to run again for state chairman in September? We've already heard, I guess Ed Lurie is going to challenge if you do run.
Oh, well, look, we're going through we had great success in the past elections. We now have 14 of the 17 county execs. All those are major counties outside of New York City. We elected a majority in the state senate, a super minority in the assembly, 51 senators, assemblymen, and we also elected more members of Congress, picked up more congressional seats than any other state in the United States. Now we have to follow through with what we did and make sure that now that we have more than one party in power here in New York and in Washington, I think the state committee has a role to play in that, and we're playing that role as chairman of the state committee, and we'll continue to play that role through this legislative session,
So
certainly.
you want to continue on as the chairman?
Well, certainly through this period of time, and then we'll take a look and see what we do after that.
Are you going to carry on with the congressional election that's coming up?
Oh, yes, the 26th.
Yeah, the 26th
Yes, we went
district.
through a full, very open process there and have nominated Jane Corwin. You know, she was treasurer of the Republican Party, an excellent treasurer. I picked her not because she is a woman, not because she has done well in her business life, but she was just a very good person to be treasurer of the Republican Party. And she's going to be an excellent candidate for Congress in that 26th congressional district.
Why do you think the
and be a
Democrats
great
haven't
member of Congress.
Why do you think the Democrats haven't come up with a candidate yet?
I don't know. I think, look, she's a very strong candidate, and they take a look at it. I think they're going to have a hard time finding a strong candidate. So I would leave that to the Democrats that respond to that to you.